Hello and welcome back. My name is Chris still, and we're going to be going through Git Push today. So we're finally ready to start communicating with the remote. We're finally ready to start making some changes and having them appear on GitHub.com. So, and again, Git Push can be used for more than that, but that's what we're going to focus on today. So by the end of the video, we'll talk about what Git Push is doing, and we'll also be able to fork a repository, make some changes after cloning it to our local machine, and then pushing it back to our remote fork. So we're going to put some stuff together today. So first things first, as always, if you ever need any information on how the Git commands work, I definitely recommend checking out the Git documentation. It's very, very good, very powerful. Basically, Git push, what it does is it's going to push the references, so everything that's in our commit history, as well as the objects necessary to ensure those references make sense. So we're just going to get right into it today. This is a great one, so let's just walk through it. So I'm actually going to just make things a little bit brighter here. There we go. So, okay. We have here the Git good push. Pretty cool, right? And what it's going to help us do is it's going to help us understand how we can do this. So again, this companion repository is going to be included in the description of the video. But we need to, make some changes to it. So we know we can't do that with a repository we don't own. So we're going to need to clone this repository, but we have to make sure we clone it while it's under our account, so we have to fork it, right? So I've included some resources in the companion repository to the other videos, but basically, give those a peek and it'll let you know what you have to do. So here we are in the on my GitHub account, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fork this repository. So I'll click the fork button. I'm just going to leave the defaults because I'm not worried about it. And here's that nifty copy the main branch only. Now, in this case, there is only the main branch, but we won't worry too much about that. So I'm going to create a fork now, and it's going to take a few seconds, and it's going to be on my GitHub that my SSH is set up with in my terminal. And now that we have it, we need to get it onto our local machine so we can make some changes. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the green code button, and then I'm going to grab the SSH address from the SSH tab, so SSH and then this copy button. And I'm going to go over to my terminal, and I'm going to go ahead and git clone, and we're just going to include that, that address. We've seen this all before, right? So there we have it. Now when we do our ls, we can see here it is. It's the git push repository. I'm going to go ahead and clear my screen, and we're going to head on into that repository. So, and now we're here, and we're loving it. We see that there's a README, and that's all there is here. We see that there are two commits, initial commit and update README. So if we go to our git log, we can check and see that, yep, update README and initial commit. My head's in the way here, but you should be able to see if I just move my noggin here. Whoop. You should be able to see there the initial commit. Okay, so this is great. This is what we wanted to do, right? So we're almost done, right? We've cloned. Now we got to make a change. So what kind of change do we want to make? Well, it's typical in these kinds of things that the change we're going to make is we're going to append our name to the end of the README. So I'm going to open up the README in my favorite text editor or whatever text editor you're comfortable with. Use that one. For demonstration's sake, just because it's nice and easy to follow, we're going to use nano. And so we're going to nano that README open. And as you can see, we have all of our README here. We've got all our markdown. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a new heading. And we're going to call that heading, your name here. And then I'm going to include my name, Chris Oleksiak. And I'll do a little, ta-da, emoji. Now, in order to save this change, we're going to have to use the write out command in Nano, which is going to be Control O. We're going to save the file as the same name it already was. So that's readme.me. And now in order to escape from Nano, we're going to use the control exit command, which is control X. Now, if we check our git status, we can see that we have modified this readme. That's great. So we know what to do from here. We need to add the readme, right? We've modified it, but we haven't staged it. So let's go ahead and stage it right now with a git add readme command. Now, if we do a git status, you can see that we have indeed staged this for being committed, but we haven't committed it yet. We'll clear the screen, and we're going to git commit, we'll just say adding my name to the readme.md. And we'll commit with that. If we do our git status now, we can see that our branch is ahead of origin main by 1 commit. And that's what we talked about yesterday with these git logs. We can see here that origin main is on that update readme, which we can see in our fork. That's exactly where it is. And so what we're going to do is we're going to now make these changes apparent to our remote repository. And the way that we do that is with a very straightforward command. It's just going to be git push. Now, you might say, wait a minute, Chris, how does it know where to push? Well, as we remember from yesterday, we have, in fact, this remote that's included when we clone, right? So when we run git clone, as we discussed in our git remote video, we have that origin added, and that's pointing to our fork, right? Because it's just pointing to whatever we clone it from, and we clone it from our fork. So grab the screen back. We're going to clear it because it gets all garbled when you dynamically shift the SSH terminal. And so yes, so we know that remote is there. We're very happy about that. And so there's another trick, though. If we do git help push, we'll see that if we don't tell it where to push, then it's going to default to origin, right? So when we don't tell it where to push, it's just going to default to origin. So what that means is that if we just use git push, and let's say we press enter, that's it. That's the whole, it's happened. That's the whole thing. If we check our git log, we can see now that our local head is pointing to this most recent commit, as well as origin main and origin head are pointing to that same commit. So, and those are our remotes, right? So okay, that's great. But what does that mean? Can we see that change on GitHub? Well, let's head over to GitHub. We'll press refresh, and we'll scroll down, and we'll see, whoa, there we go, right? So our change does appear when we push those changes. Now, let's say we wanted to be a little bit more explicit, because being explicit is never a bad thing. So let's try that. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make one more change to the readme.md. And that's, you know what, I think that emoji is probably a little bit too much. So we're going to remove that here. And then we're going to write out our file with Control O. We're going to press Enter to save it. We're going to exit Nano with Control X. We're going to go ahead and git add our readme.md. Again, if we check git status between all these commands, we'll see we have now staged this modified file. So we can go ahead and commit that. We're going to say removing emoji from my name. And now it's been committed. And now let's say we want it to be a little bit more explicit, right? So that we can see again, if we check the git log, that we've left our remote behind. Our remote's still chilling back here on this commit. So we haven't told it anything. But our local is ahead on this commit, right? Because we've removed that emoji. So if we wanted to be more explicit, we could use the command git push origin main. And that's going to tell it, hey, I want you to push to the origin remote. And remember, when we do our git remote, dash V, that origin is pointing to our fork, right? So when we do git push origin, that's saying push to this particular remote here, right, at this address. Now, let's say we wanted to... I'm sorry that it garbles the heck out of the terminal screen here. We'll clear this again. Git push origin. Right, let's say we wanted to just press enter here. We can go ahead and do that. And Git is smart enough to know, because there's only one branch on our local, and that branch is just main, and because our... I'm just going to move this out of the way this time. Because our remote only has one branch, and it's called main, it's smart enough to know which main what branch we mean to be pushing it to. Now, we could tell it what the actual branch was, so we could have instead used the command git push origin main. If I do this now, it's not going to do anything because there's nothing to push, so it just says everything up to date. But that's a way we can push to specific branches, right? And so we're going to talk about how we might want to use that, right? So why do we care about that? Well, let's go through an example, right? So we know about branches. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen again. We know that we can use this git switch -c, and we're going to call this like feature branch cool feature. We use this git switch -c with the branch name we want. Sorry for my voice, just blew up there, but that's going to go ahead and it's going to create, that's what the -c command or flag does. It's going to create a branch called feature branch cool feature, and it's going to switch to it using the git switch command. So if we do a git no pager branch here, we can see that we have indeed created this new branch, and it's called feature branch cool feature, and we have our main, which we're currently not in. And so now let's go ahead and let's add our cool feature.py, just using the touch command again. And if when we check our new git status, we see, yep, we're on branch feature branch cool feature, and there's this untracked file. Remember, we need to commit the file to this branch. So if we look at our git log, we can see that this branch is still synced to this commit, right? So in our git log, and we see that our main is there as well, but we haven't added anything. There's nothing to indicate that we've added a file here. And when we git add our cool feature.py, again, when we check that git log, we don't see it yet, right? So again, it's very important. We have to be very explicit and commit. And we're going to say, adding a cool feature. And we could go ahead and commit that. And now when we check the git log, we can see that our head is pointing at cool feature branch. That's what we're currently looking at, right? That's what that head means. And we have this new commit of adding cool feature that main and our remotes don't have, which is exactly what we want, right? Because we're on a new branch. We're doing changes to this branch. We don't want to touch anything else. And we can see that that's the case through our git log. So now that we've done that, what happens if we're just chilling here and we want to push that to our branch, right? So if we just do a git push, we see this error, right? Fatal. The current branch feature branch cool feature has no upstream branch. To push the current branch and set the remote as upstream, use, and it gives us a command automatically. So first of all, that's super cool, right? To have this automatically for branches without a tracking upstream, see push.auto setup remote in git help config. So, I mean, this is what I'm talking about. When you're reading the outputs of Git, they tell you everything you need to do. So Git's just told us if what we want to do is we want to push these changes to a new branch on our remote and then track that branch, we can use this command. So let's just try that, right? Let's just we'll get that back on this. We'll get that back on the screen so you guys can follow along. But we're gonna just type exactly this, right? This is all we're doing. So git push set upstream origin feature branch cool feature. Let's just see what happens, right? Press enter. Enumerating objects, total, remote. So this message that says remote, this is coming from a remote, and it's saying, hey man, you can create a pull request by visiting this link. Okay, cool. Thanks GitHub, right? We also see that feature branch cool feature is set up to track origin / feature branch cool feature. Well, that's the remote tracking that we talked about yesterday, right? That's already been set up for us. So GitHub just took care of all of that for us. So what happens if we do a get remote now? Well, we still just have origin. What about a get remote -v? Well, we still just have origin, right? That's kind of weird. You'd expect to see the branch. Well, GitHub under the hood is smart enough to know which branch we're on, which branch we're pushing to and from. So if I do a get switch main, which puts me back on the main branch, right? And we can see now that our branch is up to date with origin main. And remember, every time we see that origin / notation, we know from the remote video that means it's talking about a remote, and that remote is origin, and then the branch on that remote is main, right? So let's say we go ahead and we add, we make one more change to our README. Why not? You know what? I'm waffling today on the emoji. I actually think it was a great touch, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to add that back. We're going to press Control-O to write out our file. We're going to press Enter to save the name as the same name it already was, and we're going to press Control-X to exit Nano. Now we're going to add that readme.md change, and we're going to commit it, and we're going to say added the emoji back. I loved it. We have that commit. Now when we check our git log, we'll see that our origin main and our origin head is, so those are our remotes again, are still pointing at this removing emoji from my name. We already kind of know that we wouldn't see the commit from the other branch there, right? Because we talked about how these branches are separate to each other until we do something to bring them together. And we also see that our head is moved on to this commit, and we can no longer see the other branch. And that's because our branches now have diverged. We've made commits on each branch that aren't exactly the same as the other. And so our branches have now diverged. So that doesn't hurt us too much. If we use our git push though, right? Check this out. We still absolutely push to main. So Git is smart enough to know what branch we're pushing to based off of what branch we're in, right? So because there is already a remote tracking branch in Git, we don't have to worry about specifying a certain branch to push to. It will create it for us if we need to with that awesome upstream command, and it will push it to main if we're on main, and if we're on a branch that already exists, it will push it to that branch. Super cool, right? So what we can do as well is I'm just going to clear the screen here. We can use this awesome command called git remote show origin. And what that's going to do is it's going to give us more information about origin itself, right? So we already knew about, when we used our get remote -v, we already knew that we had origin set up, right? Or when we just get remote, we can see origin set up. But it didn't let us see the specific tracking branches or what they were or, anything like that. But we have this now. So with get remote show origin, so that works with any remote you have, right? So get remote show some other remote. We're able to see, here's our fetch URL, here's our push URL. The head branch is main. We have these two tracked remote branches of feature branch, cool feature, and main. And we have these two branches are also set up for get pull. And the local references are set up for get push. Now, this last piece is kind of the magic that makes what we were just talking about work, right? So that's why when I do get push on this branch, it tries to go to main. And if I'm on git, so if I use git switch to feature branch, cool feature, if I can spell feature right, and then I clear the screen a little bit. Actually, I won't clear the screen, no. And we do a git push, it would try to push to feature branch cool feature because that's what we have currently checked out, right? And that's kind of the greatness of the brains behind the Git tool. So I know that's quite a long video, and there's a lot of information in there, but I hope that was helpful for you all. And that's kind of like our first dip into pushing, and then also some branches. And let's check out how that might look on the GitHub, interface. So you don't technically need to refresh, by the way. It's just a force of habit, but you don't have to. So we see on our main, if we look and we can see that there's this commit, right? We have our 5 commits, and we have this remove. We have my waffling, right? We have my back and forth. If we actually check out the thing, though, the README, we can see there it is, most recent and up to date with that emoji that we added. And you can also see, we're going to spend a video at some point talking about just the GitHub interface, because it's actually really great. And I think a lot of people kind of might be like unaware of how powerful it is or how awesome it is. But for right now, we're just going to look at that. We can also see, if we look at our branches, that we have this new branch here. So this little drop down is our branches. And we can see that we have feature branch cool feature. And if we click on that, it will take us to there. It will tell us how many commits ahead of the fork. So the repo the fork was from is, and we can see that we have that cool feature.py. And we swap back to main, we don't have that cool feature.py. And so the next question you have obviously is like, so how do we get these things together, right? How do we make this, how do we make it work? How do we make everything go back to just the main? And we're going to get to that as we progress down the road. For now, though, we're going to leave it there. It's quite a long video already, so thanks so much all for your time. Hope you have a great day. And tomorrow we're going to talk about Git fetch and Git merge, which is a big one. Fetch is like medium, and merge is like kind of mind-blowing. So hope to see you there, and have yourself a great day.